holding a resentment to the past blocks a lot of energy. Yeah, we are busy with that, and we don't have then the necessary energy to actually focus on what we want to achieve. Picking on mistakes they made 4 months ago. What's the point?
Bun venit la REVUP Podcast, un spațiu dedicat creșterii, autodescoperirii și conectării cu idei care inspiră. Sunt Mădălina Nechifor, parte din echipa REVUP și te invit să explorăm leadership-ul dintr-o perspectivă diferită, una care pune accent pe autenticitate și evoluție personală. Astăzi îl avem invitat pe Martin Laschkolnig, expert în motivație, leadership și dezvoltare personală, cu o carieră internațională de peste 30 de ani. Îmbină experiența de business cu studiile de filozofie budistă pentru a oferi o abordare unică asupra performanței, echilibrului interior și leadership-ului conștient. Hello, Martin. Thank you for joining the REVUP podcast.
It's my pleasure.
I have to admit, I feel quite lucky to have you here and to be able to discuss and learn from you before anyone else does at the REVUP conference tomorrow.
That's
So
very
thank you.
kind of you. Thank you.
I'm happy. We usually start these conversations by asking two questions. What do many people know about you, and what do only a few people know about you?
Well, I don't know about the many part, but probably some people know that I'm in my field of expertise. I've do this mix of Eastern philosophy and personal insight combined with Western business acumen, and I did a business school as well. And so I'm an entrepreneur, a dad of 2. So that's what many people know. And what not many people know? I don't know. I think quite a few people also know that I love chocolate. This is some people say that they have a sweet tooth. I have a sweet jaw. It's and I'm trying to my metabolism is that I was very, very thin all the time. So when I turned 30, suddenly that started to change. So I was like 63 kilograms before, on 1.90 meter almost. Yeah. So now it's more like 85, 90, 95. So that's, now I have to pay attention what I eat. So
You used to be lucky, and now you actually have to work.
Now I actually have to do some control of it. Yeah.
That's good to know. I should have brought chocolate, but
No,
I think they have
it's
some.
dangerous. It's dangerous.
You mentioned about the fact that on one hand you have years of business experience. On the other hand, you studied Buddhist philosophy, which is quite impressive. So what made you want to explore both?
Well, from a teenager on, I was fascinated how people work, how people tick, what makes them tick, and why is it? I mean, life gets in the way. We all experience our crisis, stuff that doesn't work, all of that, and some people, they go down in the slump, and they are back out after 2 hours, and others stay there for weeks and months. Why is that? Yeah. So how? And after I realized, okay, it has got something to do with the mind, then I started looking into how is the mind working, how are our emotions working, and I always joke, how do you become an expert on self-esteem? Because you don't have one to start with, so you have to learn about it. And I must say, it took me quite a bit longer to get good at it. Not knowing about it. Knowing about it is easy, but the doing, the applying, especially in those situations that are really close, like with your personal family, that's the hard thing, and that's where you really need to, where the rubber hits the road, where you really have to see, okay, how am I really able to apply this? And that's the art then, because we know a lot, but what are we really doing?
So it was initially maybe a search for a meaning, a greater meaning, and then
Absolutely.
including that in the, I don't know, daily life. And
Yeah.
and how this, I don't know, as you said, blend of West and East influence your perspective over leadership and personal growth?
Yeah, that's the fun thing. So I started out with Buddhist philosophy and learning about the mind and how it works, and then one of the big part of Buddhist philosophy is in the theory of perception is does our mind work? What is about the emotions and so on, and so that led then into an exploration of the field of self-esteem. And self-esteem, there are some principles that apply for an environment where it's possible to get good self-esteem. And the fun thing is that this does not only apply to yourself and to your family, but also to teams and also to bigger groups and also to street gangs and also to schools. So I was like, that's interesting. And if we are honest, most adults are just sometimes 7-year-olds stuck in a big body. Yeah. So
With the same needs, unmet needs.
Exactly, because all the setbacks, all the difficulties that we encountered when we were as a child, we take them along unless we resolve them, unless we let go of them. But how do we do that? So that's the big thing. And the fun thing is when I realized and when I've seen that if we learn how to let them go, life becomes so much easier because we're not anymore constricted by this old baggage. And that was one of my reasons why I started then teaching all this stuff, because my motivation was first of all to go into children's work, because I thought, okay, we adults, we then go, we do coaching and maybe some therapy or something to get rid of that stuff. What would be if children would not even build that one up? Wow, how amazing would that be? And so we that's why I started looking into all of this, and I realized, okay, that in order for children to provide them with the environment, we have to enable the adults to provide that environment. And there we are right in the midst of a leadership discussion. And then I was lucky to meet a mentor of mine, Jack Canfield from the United States, who was the founder of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, and he wrote several other books, Power of Focus and Success Principles and stuff. And that led me into the field of looking into peak performance. What does it mean if we really thrive, if we really perform our best? Because there's performing our best without regard to our own resources, just to prove how good we are. And that oftentimes doesn't last very long because we land in burnout. And how is it that other people are living a life that is satisfying and where they're in their own power, where they're in their full potential, and they don't burn out? Oh, juicy topic. I love that, and I've been exploring that for the past 25 years.
You just described my whole life until one point a few years ago when I started to look into me and see what's there.
Everyone, we come onto the planet and we try to learn from our parents, and they did the best they could. Otherwise, they would have done better. I mean, I think is already a very important point. And we may be unhappy about our parents or our school environment or the church or whatever was the situation that when we grew up. But to know that they tried the best they could, had they been able to do better, they would have done better. So it was the best they could do. That can really help us make peace with that. Because just holding a resentment to the past blocks a lot of energy. Yeah, we are busy with that, And we don't have then the necessary energy to actually focus on what we want to achieve, on where we want to go. And there is so much potential in us, and just making peace with the past and say, okay, it may not have been nice. Okay, I'm letting it go. Of course, then there are sometimes flashbacks and stuff. Somebody does something that reminds you of your math teacher in third grade, and you go like, oh my goodness, leave me alone. Yeah, of course. So there are then some techniques in coaching and in therapy or in like self-experience that can help us let go of that better. But just the basic decision of saying, okay, no, the past is the past. And the beautiful thing that I heard once in a seminar, it says, if we come to the point where the past informs us instead of controls us, we attain freedom.
Wow.
And I really like that. Because if you think about it, if I let go of this and say, okay, yeah, that's my experiences. And of course, we need the experiences because we build up from those experiences into the future, of course. But they are a possibility. They are not fixed. They happened. They can give me information, but I don't have to depend on them. They don't have to be able to control me. Well, if I can let go of that control, if I say, okay, that's one option, what does happen then? A lot of options open up. We get so many more options that we can choose from, who we want to be. Yeah? And so that gives us freedom.
So letting go of the past and even the traumatic experiences after we processed them and so on actually create space for something new.
Exactly.
To go in.
Exactly. Because when the past no longer controls me, then I can actually sit down and say, who do I want to be? Because we have a truth about ourselves. Yeah. Oh, I'm this. I'm thin. I'm thick. I'm smart. I'm not so smart. I'm good at math. I'm good at whatever. Yeah. So we make many different assumptions, many different conclusions about ourselves, and all of that. Yes, that happened. And do they have to control me forward into the future? No. Who do I want to be? I always say that people live on a certain average base level in their lives. Yeah? And for some people that is joy, and for some people it's frustration, and for some people it's resignation. And then something good happens and you spike up, you're happy for a couple of moments, or something bad happens and you drop down into despair and anger and for a couple of moments. But then eventually you will come back to the same base level. It's like the studies that were done with people winning the lottery and suddenly being multimillionaires. And that makes them happy for 2 weeks, 3 months. But then their emotional base level levels in again at where they were before.
I think it was a similar study I saw a while ago with a person that loses his leg.
Same thing,
And
exactly.
it was really, really bad for a few months, so maybe 1 year. But after that, he just got back to the same level of happiness.
Exactly. And so the question that we then say, okay, well, seemingly the outer circumstances are not the deciding factor on where we are. So where is the deciding factor? Oh, it could be me. Yeah. And so then, but if it's me, then I have power over it. I can do something about it. And then I can actually look, okay, is where I am I happy? Is that where I am at peace? Or is it stressful? Is it frustrating? Is it difficult? And it's not about sugarcoating it. It's not about, oh, we all need to think positive thoughts and it will be all good. No. Accepting reality for what it is a huge point. Yeah, and I do in my coaching when I have clients, the worst clients are the positive thinkers. I in my coaching I work a lot with energy psychology, and you may have heard of tapping, where you tap on acupressure points to let go of stress. It's a beautiful technique that is really effective and oftentimes very quickly. But one of the preconditions for that is that you acknowledge what is there. Where am I now? Acknowledge that. And if you're really pissed and you
Admit
say,
it.
I'm a little bit uncomfortable. No, you're not. I am pissed. I'm so fucking mad. Yeah. Then that is where you are right now. It doesn't mean that you have to stay there, but as long as you deny it, you push energy into resisting it, and that will keep you stuck there.
It's a lot of energy.
It's a lot of energy. People spend their whole lives denying what is actually going on. And if they actually would allow themselves to sit down and take honest stock and say, "Hey, no, I'm not happy here. This situation is frustrating me." And then you can have a look, okay, so what are the good things? What are the bad things? What are the things that make my heart open? And what are the things that actually make me angry or make me frustrated or make me sad? You can do something in the outside. You can find circumstances on the outside that contribute to your happiness or contribute to your misery. And then, of course, you're free to change it. The point in the whole thing is, if you are miserable on the inside, almost nothing you do on the outside will change that. So the major factor is what I call emotional hygiene. And that's why we all spend countless hours on physical hygiene, which is perfectly all right. Yeah, you don't want to walk around smelling and looking ugly. Yeah, so you want to take care of yourself. But how much time are we spending on our emotional hygiene? Yeah, we have this habit of eating, so that's why we need to brush our teeth twice a day. Yeah, to get rid of the plaque that has accumulated in our teeth. What's the emotional plaque that has accumulated in you? When are you taking care of that? And usually we are doing it not at all. Yeah, or once a year I go to a 5-day meditation retreat. Well, but what about the rest of the 365 days? Yeah. So what I'm recommending is find some ritual, find something where you get back to center, where you get nourished, where you can recharge. Because if your own battery is empty, how do you want to help anyone else? You cannot start another car if the battery you wanted to jump it from is empty too. So you need some energy in order to provide positive influence in the world. If you are a mom, a dad, how do you want to be there for your children when they need you if your battery is empty? So you need to recharge your batteries, and that could be small things like taking a walk in the forest or doing some yoga or meditation, whatever it is for you. Everybody's different. I'm not saying there's one that fits all, but everybody is different. So find what nourishes you and dedicate, I don't know, at least once or twice a week, 20 minutes to half an hour to it.
Indeed, I think we influence a lot the other ones, not by being calm and present and so on, if we take that time, but we also influence their behaviors, especially in the little ones, because they model us in a way. And it was kind of, well, now it's maybe funny, but at that point for me it was a bit of a shock. My daughter was around 4, and I'm usually quite tough. And at some point I had an issue, and I started to cry. and she looked at me and she said, "What are you doing?" "I'm crying. I never saw you cry." And for me, it's 4 years in her life, and it's the first time she saw me crying. I mean, and after that, I realized that she didn't used to cry either.
Yeah, yeah.
She rarely did that compared to other children who cried all the time for everything. She was quite tough. And we learned that together.
Like mom, like daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is actually a German comedian from last century. He said, "Education is useless. They'll imitate anyway everything you do," and I think that's so true. We can try to give them the education they need, some knowledge and so on, but ultimately they will do like you do. And if you analyze yourself, I mean, I know many people, I hear that from many people. They say, "Oh, I'll never be like my parents." Well, guess what?
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that, exactly. And but this is where when we switch to a leadership role in a company, this is exactly the same. People will imitate the behavior, and you can discuss about values and about procedures and how you want to treat each other and so on. And clarifying the expectation is a very good thing. Being clear what you want, but just saying how you want to do it and then not doing it yourself, people will not buy it. So one thing is communicating clearly what you think is necessary to be done, but then you need to emulate it yourself. You need to model it yourself, and that's the same in a family. That's the same in a school. That's the same in a corporate environment.
Yeah, so you need to, if you want to, I heard that a lot, that people in my team are not open, and I can see that they are unhappy, but they don't tell me anything. But
Well, maybe they don't trust you.
you didn't share anything. So you are not open, and you are always there in your leader role, and that's it. And you don't share anything about yourself. You don't express emotions. You're
correct.
So it's hard for them to do something that they don't see as being acceptable, right?
Right.
From the leader.
Exactly. As in German, there's the saying, the fish starts smelling from the head. And
we have the same.
Oh, you have the same. Okay, good. Yeah, it's and it's so true, because what are you doing will influence those who are looking up to you, and they can look up to you in respect and in gratitude and in appreciation, or they can look up in you in confusion or in frustration or in animosity, maybe even. Yeah? Like, because okay, what is he up to now? It's like I'm not sure that. And that is actually one of the key things that kills trust in an environment. It's unpredictability. If you say one thing and you do another, it kills trust. And it doesn't mean that you can't change your mind. Circumstances change. You have to change your response. It's very clear. But the basic idea, the basic values behind it, they need to stay the same. If we are talking about open communication, we should be talking about open communication in difficult and in smooth times. So there were interesting studies done in school kids that I'm talking about in my talks about the 5 steps for self-esteem, and the lowest is security. So if we don't feel safe, we will not engage. And they did a study in school children, and those who ranked on the security in this basic fundamental level very low, like a 1 or 2 out of 10, in 95% of those cases, there was a substance abuse problem at home. So either some drugs, some alcohol, medication, TV addiction, because what an addiction does, and anyone who has lived with an alcoholic parent, you know that sometimes their behavior is erratic. It's not consistent. Something that you would have gotten scolded for goes totally unnoticed because they're just on a high and they're good. Yeah. And something else that's normally totally okay, you get beaten for it because who knows? We don't know. Yeah. Because they had a bad day. They didn't get their stuff or whatever. So it's not, and that this is one of the misconceptions in raising children. It's not about allowing children anything. It's about clarity. Clarity and being clear about what is okay, what is the behavior, how do we work, what is the expected behavior. And children are actually looking towards the parents to get the guidelines for how to behave. And honestly, among us, not that potentially millions can listen to this, it's the same in companies. People will look to their leaders as to what is acceptable and what not. And so once it's way overboard, it's much harder to rein it in than when you say, okay, oh no, I see that there's a small deviation. Actually, we have agreed that we'll move that direction. So is there a good reason for that? Discuss it, of course. Yeah? Maybe there is a good reason. Maybe there are some circumstances that you didn't know, and it might need that you need to adjust course. But basically, if you catch it fast, that's a great thing. Like also, many companies have like twice annual evaluation talks. Stop it. It's useless. Having a strategic meeting, like where do employees see each other in a certain time, which direction do they want to develop into, and so on. That's a good thing. I don't mean to stop that. But picking on mistakes they made 4 months ago, what's the point? Yeah. And it's also very disturbing to the employees. It's the same for children. Yeah. The worst. Some people, also in a partnership, some people, we call it discount stamp collectors. You know, like sometimes, I don't know if you have that here, but you get a little booklet, and every time you do something or you buy something, you get a little sticker. So when the sticker book is full, then you get a reward. And some people have that in their relationships. Yeah, so they, oh, there she was late. There she was late. There she was late. Yeah? And after like 10 times, you're late all the time. Hello? No. Talk about it when it happens. In the positive as in the negative. Praise for something that I have done well 4 months ago, if it happens even, not a question, but it is not really affecting the person so much. But right now, when we do things, and I'm delivering a report to you, and you look through it, and then the next day you come to me and say, oh, by the way, I looked through that report. Great work. Thank you so much. I mean, it made so many things clear. I feel seen for what I have done. I feel validated in that my contribution was of value. And that is much more powerful, much more, it makes a much higher imprint on the person than when you talk about, yeah, okay, your performance in the last 6 months was actually quite satisfactory, and the report you did in March was good.
Giving feedback in the moment,
yes,
gives you the chance to be more specific. And
exactly.
That's when people feel seen.
Exactly.
Because, twice a year, it's more of you're a great guy and finish that project on time. But it's so general that,
exactly. And the small things, they compound over time, and they create the perception of what is, because it's not what we all live in in a perceived reality. So reality is what is real. Because anything we see, anything we encounter, we put our interpretation on. Oh, this is good, this is bad. And I've just seen recently a little video that said, an Indian teacher actually talked about love. Yeah, we all want to be loved. Well, what if 10,000 people love you and you don't know about it? What does it do for you? Nothing. But if one person was supposed to love you and they didn't, you're miserable. What if you didn't know about it? It wouldn't make a difference. So the main point is, again, back to where we started off, it starts from within me. Am I happy with where I am? Am I confident that I'm okay? And in the tapping we have this setup statement, they call it. When you start working on a problem, and the setup statement, you tap on the side of your hand, like if you would do a karate chop kick, and you tap on with like 2-3 fingers. Yeah, exactly. On if you do a karate chop where the hand hits the wood, yeah, and you tap there, and you say, even though I have the problem, I don't know, I'm so angry that my boss yelled at me, whatever, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And this is amazing in the sense of that normally we are the problem. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm too stupid. If he yelled at me, I must be the problem. Blah, blah, blah. All of these conversations, because that's how we learned it. And this statement alone already takes it apart. It says, hey, no, we have a problem, but I can love and accept myself anyway. And usually new clients, when we do that, they can't say that. Because up to now in your life, how often did you say to yourself, I deeply and completely love and accept myself?
In the past years,
maybe a little bit more.
Started to invest in that, and
exactly. Yeah, but many of
at least for the first 30 years,
many of the people that get exposed to that technique have never done that, because this is not a value in our culture. And I'm not talking about narcissistic pride. Yeah, I'm the best and everybody else is worthless. That is not high self-esteem. Absolutely not.
Which actually hides low self-esteem.
It actually hides low self-esteem. Absolutely, you're totally correct on that. But it's, hey, I am okay, and you are okay. You may be different, and you may view things different. That's all fine, but you are okay, and I'm okay, and I have a right to be okay, and you have a right to be okay, and to realize that what other people say is their perception, is their opinion, but it doesn't have to be the truth. And you have to look inside. And when it triggers you, then it's usually because something happened in the past that made you believe that. But there is this beautiful quote from, I think, Eleanor Roosevelt, from American First Lady in the last century. She said, nobody can make you feel miserable without your consent, without your agreement. Huh. Okay. Yeah, because all of that is just outer events. But what is your reaction to it? And that's why we need those rituals that I spoke before about. Because those rituals allow you to create this space, to create this buffer, this shield maybe even, that helps you, okay, there is an outer event coming. How do I react to it? Normally we react on autopilot. It's like,
quickly.
Yeah, you say you're stupid, and I say, how dare you? Huh? And is that the only option? No. I could say, oh, interesting. How do you get to that view? Yeah. So if I don't buy into it right now, then I have the space to say, "Oh, tell me more. Why do you think? What happened?" Yeah, and I'm not agitated, and I can explore with you. Okay, what led to this assumption? But if it triggers me, then I explode. I go all angry, and we have an argument. That's basically back to the 7-year-olds, no?
Fighting 40 years later in the same way.
But seriously, it is.
It is, yeah.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, because we are not anymore responsible adults who can talk factually about things, but we get triggered and we get angry and we get annoyed with each other, and then we start picking on each other. And how will that lead to a solution? Spoiler alert: it won't. Yeah, so one person has to become the adult in the room, as to say.
You talk a lot, and I think in this context, we can discuss it a bit. You talk a lot about serenity. Um, this is not a word often used in leadership conversations.
That's true.
What serenity means to you in a practical sense, and why is it actually so relevant nowadays?
Serenity means that you have cultivated that space that I just talked about. That you're not automatically triggered, or you notice when a trigger comes, and that you have the space and the time and the resources to not let it instantly reflect back. Yeah, so somebody says something stupid to you, you get angry. That's not serenity. Serenity is when you lean back and say, interesting. How do you come to that point? And that is exactly what also in Buddhist meditation you call the presence, to be present right now, because the accusation, the insult, whatever that happened in the past. Are you right now in the present? And when I am fully present right now, I have the freedom to choose how I want to react. If I'm on autopilot, I'll get triggered automatically. Yeah, somebody yells at me, I'll yell back. But if I am truly serene, if I'm calm, then I have the space. Actually, how do I want to react? Is that helpful? And that has a lot to do with self-acceptance. Yeah, if somebody says you made a mistake, I said, okay, yeah, tell me more. Why do you think that is? And wait for the explanation. Because I know that I make mistakes. We all do. We are all humans. But maybe, okay, let's discuss, see what the mistake is. Instead of instantly going into on the defense and trying to avoid it, or maybe, no, I never make mistakes, like narcissists usually do. Yeah? They never make mistakes. Everybody else. And then they will turn the stuff on them in order to prove that they made the mistake, not them themselves. And who wants to work with such a person? So, and the serenity is so important right now because our world becomes more and more difficult to navigate. Let's put it that way. The uncertainty becomes bigger and bigger. And if we interpret every certain uncertainty that happens in a way that will evoke our emotions, how can we lead our people in this? It's impossible. But if we have the space, and we have to create that space, it's not a natural, it's not a given. We have to create that space to actually see, okay, what is actually going on really? We just see one thing and we jump to a conclusion. I mean, if you stand on a busy crossing and the bus is coming, you better jump. Yeah, just like this is one of the situations. But in 99% of all situations in life, we don't have to have this auto response. We don't have to have this immediate panic thing. Our brain is regulated to do that. You know, we have this what they call the reptilian brain. And this is basically meant to keep us safe from existential threats. But the problem is it's a bit fuzzy. Yeah, our prefrontal cortex, where we do all the thinking and it's way slower than that reptilian brain, which is cool. Yeah, because if there's a tiger jumping out from behind the bush, you better react fast. But okay, how many tigers do we have nowadays? But still, our reptilian brain gets triggered, and to be able to stop that, and then to reassess the situation. Okay, what is actually going on? This will allow you then to make better decisions and to better lead people. And so, in that sense, I think we really need to cultivate serenity if we want to be a leader that is worth leading people.
So to take the time before deciding, before jumping to conclusions, just take time to analyze a bit, see what's the actual threat there, and
stay calm. Yeah, and because that people will look to you for a leadership decision, and we can see right now what happens if somebody is taking leadership decisions in a very spontaneous manner. I'm not looking at you, America. This is the perfect illustration. I'm so sorry, but it's the perfect illustration of how you don't lead. And
we can learn from that. I mean, it's a really good example.
Well, as to say, sometimes you learn by the hard knocks. But I didn't know we needed the knocks so hard. But yeah, we can learn a lot of, because when we put somebody in a leadership position, and that's a huge thing actually. Don't promote for technical capability. Just because somebody is a good salesperson or a good programmer, it doesn't mean they are good at organizing people to program. So there is leadership development is not making the best person the leader, because they often don't even want that. They leave me alone. I want to be alone with my code. That's why I became a programmer. I don't want to interact with people. Yeah. And I can say that because I'm a nerd myself. So it's like I have those moments as well. But to organize, and it's not okay. A leader needs to know about the subject matter, but he doesn't need to be the best in the subject matter. He needs to know how to communicate with those who are best in the subject matter. And that makes a difference, because as a leader, you don't have the job to be the best in it, but you have many other jobs around it as well, by organizing things and having the bigger perspective and what's needed for the greater good of everyone. And that often doesn't come when you are the best in a very limited and small field.
Yeah, that happens a lot in companies. I mean, it's something that I see a lot, and it's really a struggle, because managers tend to think that if the person they put in a leadership position is a really good technical person, that their team already trusts them. And that's the main starting point. It's easier. The team immediately acknowledges that person as a leader because they worked with that person and they know they're good and so on. But that doesn't last.
And
that doesn't last. At some point...
it's an important factor to consider, but it's not the only factor.
It's not the only factor. And in time, that person will not be able to adapt in the same way as a person who invested a lot in them, and not only invested but has the skills and
Exactly. So, and the thing is that if you don't hire for a character, then you might get people who are not compatible with the values of your team and of your company, and they might be super performers. But what if they have a total, what I call elbow mentality? Yeah, so I'm pushing left and right just for my personal gain, and I'm not thinking about the rest of the team. For the rest of the team, that's very frustrating. So I would rather have a person who is not that good, but who can create a good team culture, because then everybody pulls more. If you have like 10 people on a team and one people who's really, really outperforming them, but is, let's call it a not so nice person, you have 9 others who will be actively disengaged. And I say, okay, well, I mean, like, what's the point? Yeah, why should I put in even some effort? And so then they quit internally, and if you're lucky, they are only silent quitters and not loud quitters. So that's what you call it in the. Sure, many have heard of the Gallup Engagement Index, where every year it goes through the press. It's like, okay, well, we have like, I don't know, 20% who are actively disengaged, 70% who actually show up, and 10% who are actively engaged, who are really happy to be in the place. And the thing is, those lower 20% who are actively disengaged, they will let everyone know that this company is stupid and you shouldn't be working there, and they are basically just too lazy to go off and try somewhere else. But they probably will be the same there, because it's about mindset. The problem is that those are influencing the silent quitting ones, those who just show up. They drag their body to work and let it do some movement. So yeah,
do the basics.
and the top 10%, they account for actually the profit and the goal achievement that the company has. And so, and we have seen in studies that companies that actually implement best practices, they're really serious about organizational development and leadership development, they have up to 70-80% of highly engaged people. Wow. Like, instead of like, if you're lucky, and Romania actually is really good. I've read in a recent study that they have 36% of people that are actively engaged here, which is very high. It's the highest in Europe. But still, it means that 2/3 are not. And you could have 3/4 fully engaged. What a difference to your company would that do? And the fun thing is, it doesn't even cost money to do that. You don't have to pay people more, because money is a sort of hygiene factor. You have to pay people a decent salary that's okay, that they can live off. It's not a motivating factor. Motivating is that if I come on Monday morning to work, I know that I'll meet people that is fun to work with and we have a good environment. Of course, we have to pull our load and do some work. That's what we're here for. But we can do it in an environment that's either is demotivating, or we can do it in an environment that's motivating. And again, here we are back to the level of security that I talked before. This is the main deciding factor, why people are engaged or not. And again, here it's predictability. If the behavior is predictable of the leaders, people will be more ready to engage. They will be ready to offer insight. They will be ready to speak up and say if something's not working. If you don't know whether what you get scolded for today again you will stop engaging. You will stop offering any insights. And you will just go, okay, I'll do my work and leave me alone. And that is actually, I think, in the day and age that we are moving into right now, we cannot afford that anymore. We need to have everybody on board. Because otherwise, especially in Europe, as a society, we cannot produce as cheap as they possibly can in Asia. Yeah? And maybe we are not that hyper creative like Silicon Valley. But what we can be is we can be consistent. We can be working towards where we want to be. And for that, we need everybody to be engaged and to be involved. And if people come together in an environment of trust and of mutual appreciation, we can actually achieve so much more than we actually do now.
How would you summarize a bit maybe what we've just discussed around motivation? I mean, after the pandemic, especially, I saw that a lot of demotivated teams and a lot of leaders being actually stuck in trying to motivate them. So where should they start? I mean, what would be the first step? Just take some time, look at the situation, and the first step that they should take in order to regain the motivation back in the team.
I think what in many cases did not happen is actually offer a space to talk about things. Yeah, because I see that there's a lot of tiredness, a lot of overwhelm, a lot of frustration, and it's much easier if we share that. It's much easier if we have a conversation and we realize, hey, you're feeling the same, and that's a connecting factor. So that acknowledgement of, hey, yes, it's difficult. That's hugely important, and also that maybe we need some time to recover. We cannot say, okay, now pandemic's done. Okay, wow, here's the next quarter goals, 20% higher. We need to catch up.
And be happy because it's all over.
Super. Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm exhausted. Yeah, how can you not see that? So acknowledging what has happened and seeing what has happened and then the motivation. Many have heard of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Yeah, extrinsic motivation is like money, but it only goes so far. If it doesn't connect to your intrinsic motivation, to your values, to what is important to you, where do you see purpose? There's this great saying by I think Viktor Frankl is that if we know why, we can almost endure anyhow. And it doesn't mean that we should make it bad for people, but without the why, without why are we doing this? What's the purpose of it? And how are we contributing? And many people actually want to contribute to a greater cause. It's like, find that. And everybody has a different one. It's different motivations. Some people are motivated by togetherness. Some people are motivated by leave me alone. Yeah, because of their personality type. So we have to take that into consideration. But the main thing is acknowledge we are all in this together. Know that I see you and I appreciate what you do, and that it's the best you can do right now. And then, why are we doing all of this? If I don't see any purpose in what I'm doing, if it's useless, then okay, I'm just going to work to make some money to feed my family. Okay, that's a valid reason. Families want to eat for some strange reason, of course. But if we can combine it with the feeling of, and sometimes we have to look for it. What are we doing that's actually making a contribution? And sometimes not every job is really where you can say, okay, we're making this huge contribution to humanity, whatever. But most everywhere you can find actually a place and an issue that you are contributing to, and to be aware of that and like in your conversations, pay on to that, will help people to come together, to feel connected. And we are social beings. We want to do stuff together and then move forward.
That's great advice.
I
Really,
hope.
really useful. Yeah, yeah. I saw that a lot, so
Mm.
it's good to have that as a starting point. I have a question, more of a, let's say, misconception.
Mm-hmm.
Can serenity and ambition coexist? We
Good question.
we tend to think that finding peace means letting go of the drive to achieve and
Mm.
demonstrate and so on. So we see them as separate things. Are they that separate?
This is a really, really good question. First, we have to talk about why do people want to achieve, and what is this notion of success in our society. Because our society is so driven towards hustling and to performing, and you're only valuable if you perform, and all of this, that most of people in our modern societies totally tend to ignore their natural resources. They just go full speed, driving themselves hard and harder in order to get approved of, in order to be recognized and see how good I am. I'm this hardworking person. I've been in psychiatric care already twice for burnout, but I'm trying so hard. That's not healthy. And the thing is, I believe in that, or let's put it another way. The old Greeks had two gods of time. And one we know very well in our society, it's Chronos. It's also where you have the chronometer, yeah, the watch. We're really good with that one. Yeah, dividing time up to a millisecond and even smaller. Yeah, and the other god was Kairos, and Kairos was the god of time for the quality of time. What is the time right for? And I think we have lost that. Not for nothing, if you look at the agriculture, you have a time of sowing, you have a time of ripening, you have a time of harvest, and you have a time of recuperation throughout the year. And we are in a vicious cycle of more and more and more and more and more and more performance. Well, if you perform so much, your battery will run empty. If your battery is empty, how do you want to perform more? It's not possible. We need to recreate times. And so ambition, if we have a purpose for doing something, we will do that. But we will do it in a much more relaxed manner. And it doesn't mean that it needs to be less efficient. Because if you're powered out, if you're burned out, how efficient will you be then? Not at all. It will be maybe effective for this quarter's goals we have to achieve. But if you look down the road, like a year from now or 2 years from now, how will it be then? So in order to actually maintain success, we need serenity. We need those phases of calming down. And serenity doesn't mean that you lean back and say, oh, I'll let ever happen, whatever happens. It means that you don't get stressed even by a lot of activity. And so I am a person, I don't like it slow. Yeah, I like moving fast, thinking fast, and I have lots of ideas. But I also know that I need my time to recuperate. I need my time for doing my energy work, for meditation or whatever it is, in order that I maintain my power, because otherwise I'll burn out. and that will help no one.
I can totally resonate to that. I'm also a fast-paced person, and my up until I don't know a few years ago, I was like, by the age of I need to, by the age of I need to,
Yeah.
and it's funny that everything that I have planned happened in a totally different period than I had planned, and
Yeah.
usually after I got relaxed about it.
Mm.
So when
So true.
yeah,
So true. Yeah.
which for me it was a bit hard to get to that state in which I accept that things might not happen when I want them to happen.
Yeah.
But it's proven. I mean,
Yeah.
it happened
Yeah.
a lot of times.
Yeah. It actually, it really is that you try really hard, and then you say, okay, whatever, and then suddenly it happens. Yeah. That is that's what I call surrender to life, because our monkey mind. That's one thing that I'll talk in my speeches a lot about. It's monkey mind. We all have this monkey mind. Building scenarios and oh, this has to happen then and now and then. But if that happens, oh, that will be really bad. And oh no, we don't want to have that. That's monkey mind constantly blabbering. And to send monkey mind off into the corner and say, okay, now shut up for the moment. Leave me in peace. And meditation, for example, is a way of shutting up monkey mind, letting it just pass through. Don't give it importance. It's not important right now. Go off into the corner, chill. And once we learn that our inner critic, our monkey mind, they can be helpful resources to help us realize when there are dangers, when there are problems, when we something might need to look into something a little bit more deeply in order to understand what's really going on, because something's off. That's a really good use for monkey mind and the inner critic. But if we let them run the show, then we won't get anywhere. We just feel miserable. And I don't know how about you, but I don't like feeling miserable. I much rather be relaxed and at ease. Isn't it?
A lot of that probably comes from fear, of course.
Yes.
Which is a really powerful emotion that
very strong
drives a lot of behaviors that sometimes help, as you said. We need to survive and so on. But probably nowadays, when we actually are safe and have everything we need, all the resources, all the food, it doesn't help.
Much fear of or of scarcity is just up here in our heads, and it's not really out there. And actually, I've just seen recently a beautiful statement by Kamala Harris. She gave a speech and she said that she recognizes that what's going on right now, it's creating a lot of fear, and fear is contagious, it's infectious, but so is courage. And I really like that. And so the question is, who do you surround yourself with? This is one of the big, if you want to influence your well-being, your emotional well-being, look at who is surrounding you. What's the attitude and the energy of the people surrounding you? Are you infecting each other with courage? Because everybody has a low, and then we need somebody else who is courageous. And sometimes it's ourselves who are courageous, and we inspire the others. Or is everybody just in a fear mode and pulling each other down? Evaluating that, it can really show you who you want to spend time with. And then do that.
Yeah, the environment, I think it's quite important to support or
yes, and
stop you from doing.
Consciously choose who do you give permission to influence you. Yeah, and that goes for the media sphere, that goes for your social media, but that also goes for the people in your environment. Who do you give permission to influence you? It's not, they don't get to do it automatically. You're giving them permission. Hello? think about it. And of course, sometimes you might be married to that person. Yeah,
You anticipated my next question.
that is.
Tough.
I'm not advocating throwing away marriages. Yeah, sometimes it's a really good partnership, but it's just you have to have a discussion and agree on how do you talk to each other, or you were triggered by stuff, and then you do your own coaching and then your own therapy in order to be able to be that better person. But the environment that we expose ourselves to is so critical because we are social beings. We are it's necessary for us, and nobody can live alone on an island, and most of us can't. But so we need the right people around us. And how do we define right? There is no right and wrong. There's just defining what is right for you, what is nourishing you, what is helping you, what is elevating you. And don't we want to have people around us that build us up instead of pulling us down? We get to choose.
Yeah, we get to choose. And even when maybe you cannot just get rid of all the relationships. So I mean, you have parents, you are married to someone, and so on. But at least to stay conscious about how they influence you, and how to put a
Absolutely.
stop when you tend to act in a certain way, being influenced by those person. At least that you can do and control.
Exactly. Sometimes we cannot really choose who we are surrounded with, but we can choose where our limit is. And oftentimes the thing is that we haven't even declared properly what our limit is. And we don't need to be mean to do that, but we can be respectful by saying, okay, well, this conversation is difficult for me because I have different values. So I'd appreciate if you'd recognize my values and uh, do your best so that we can have a common ground that is supporting both of us. Oftentimes people go like, oh yeah, sure, of course. They were not aware. And so we were not aware. So getting the clarity first for yourself, and then also standing for your clarity. Oh, but what will others say? And they will not like me anymore. Okay, get over it. If they won't like you for this anymore, well, maybe they don't need to be in your life anymore.
Can create space for someone else.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do people often misunderstand about confidence and self-esteem?
Yeah, I like that question. That is actually there's a very, very common misunderstanding. When you have a brash behavior, when you really are very loud and outgoing and that's not confidence. That's covering up for something else. If you are confident, if you have a high self-esteem, you can accept others for who they are. They don't need to conform to your way of things in order for you to accept them. That is true confidence. That I can be somebody else, even though they have a different opinion, I can let them be. And I don't feel insecure because they have another opinion. So the key here is self-esteem and self-confidence. Because as long as it doesn't start inside me, in myself, it will not be able to be available on the outside. So that is a very common myth that there are people that are very loud and they're very seemingly confident, but they are just actually covering for their own insecurities.
Everyone should know that. So the next time you feel intimidated by that type of person, think twice.
And one other thing is that sometimes you read, okay, due to too high self-esteem, blah, 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 they did. No. If you have high self-esteem, that, like, can you be healthy? Can you be too healthy? No. It's an overreaction. And so especially those like bully types, yeah, like acting very confidently and so on, they are deeply insecure. And once you realize that this is actually, so you can always assume, always, if somebody has the need to put somebody down, be it different races, different sexuality, different gender, whatever, they have a self-esteem problem. Because if I need to make women down in order for me to be confirmed as a male, you haven't understood anything. Yes, women may be different. Oh yeah. Well, but so are among men people and among women people. We are all different. Yeah? And there are different habits and different ways to express ourselves and so on. But as long as your way of expression does not infringe on my freedom, yeah, that's the thing for tolerance. Sir Karl Popper, an Austrian philosopher, once created the intolerance paradox, that says that tolerance has to stop where intolerance begins. Because if we allow intolerance, if we're tolerant toward intolerance, it will take over and destroy the basis and the foundation of our society. So, do you have another opinion? Perfectly fine. You start infringing on the rights of others because you don't like the way they look, the way they act, the way they love, whatever it is, stop. It's not your right to put them down. Yeah, you can say, okay, well, as long as we're dealing respectfully with each other, and as somebody once so nicely said, if you're opposed to same-sex marriage, just don't accept the proposal. It's fine. Yeah. Be married in a hetero relationship. Fine. It's good. Yeah, anything else is not your business. Love is love. And
such a good advice these days, especially.
yeah.
What do we do when we work, where let's say we work with people like that, the confident, the fake confident ones that are, and they have the power. I saw that a lot. They have the power to let you
Yes.
go, to decrease your salary, to I don't know, not promote you when you should be promoted. What do we do from?
So several aspects. One is they might be just stuck in this small child that was never seen. And if you can create an environment where suddenly they can feel seen and they can feel accepted, their behavior will relax. However, having said that, it's not your job as a team member to do therapy on your boss. Yeah, it's obviously. Yeah? I mean, maybe you can through some learning about how to communicate and how to do that, and you may be able to diffuse the situation and make them relax more. Because why are they doing this? Because they're insecure. Yeah, they feel they need to prove something. They feel that only their way is the right way because in their childhood something happened, whatever, we don't know. So if you can work with that, great. That's really, but I would say that's the advanced capability. If they are directly affecting you, well, ultimately you'll have to think, do I still want to work there? It is something that needs to be addressed actually with the superior. If they don't care, because those people usually they don't have good performance record either, because their team will be demotivated and disengaged. So how should the team perform great? If their performance is just based on fear and pressure, it will not sustain. And so in that sense, it's a leadership issue, and it needs to be taken care by the leadership above. If you are just a team member, I'm afraid there's not much you can do, except for define for yourself when is enough. What are you willing to accept? Because the worst thing for your personal mental health is to go in there with a huge amount of resistance and still not deciding to get out of it. Is that really like? And we see that people go to work on Monday and on Wednesday they're praying why it's not Friday yet. Yeah, just to have 2 days off in order to then do the same thing next week again. What if you could go to a place of work where you are happy to go in on Monday? You're happy to see your colleagues, and you're having, okay, you're doing work, and sometimes it's hard work, but you're doing it together as a team, yeah, and you're having a good time doing it. Which one would you prefer? And I must say, in the current times now, and this is something every leadership person should really take heavy note of. Maybe right now we are in a bit of insecurity about hiring people, and where we have a little bit more unemployed right now again. But even in the midterm, like 5 years from now, the demographic development in Europe, people can have easy choice of where they want to work. And so is your culture in your company geared up to attracting the people and retaining the people, or will they be easily lured off to somebody else?
I think this is great advice, and because if you search for that, you will get answers like how to make your boss a nice person in 5 steps and things like that, and how to approach, and sometimes you just need to reflect and see that maybe it's time to let go in a practical sense, and that's an option.
Yeah,
And it's
communication is powerful. We can do a lot with communication, but as I said before, it's not your job to be the therapist of your boss.
What questions leaders should ask themselves more often?
Am I listening enough? I think this is what a leader needs to do. Listen. A leader is a coach, is an enabler. A leader is the holder of the vision. So, of course, the vision must come from the top. What do we want to do? What are our strategic goals and so on? But when it's about executing that, get out of the way. Your people who are on the front line, they know best. Listen to them, to the challenges that they are encountering, and then get together and find the solutions how to overcome those. Because you sitting in your office and not being with the customer out there, you will not know what's going on out there. So listen more.
Tomorrow you will be speaking at the REVUP conference. I'm so looking forward to that, to be honest. And also you will hold a workshop.
Yes.
On the 30th of May. That would be also around serenity. If you can just share a few words about what is going to happen there and what people expect.
So tomorrow I have 50 minutes. So I'll give a brief overview. But in the 4 hours, we will be able to really dive deep, and because understanding the principle is the one thing, but how does it apply to myself? How can I actually affect change in me? What do I need to realize? Where do I in the workshop we'll go through the exact planning process. We'll have the reflection sheets where you can find out, okay, how does this apply to me? How can I make the change so that my life will be easier? I'll be a better leader and I'll have more fun and more serenity while doing that. And so this is what a longer period of time allows us, that people actually can reflect on their personal journey and dive deep and see actually, okay, wow, I didn't realize I needed to make a change here. Or this is a topic that I need to work on. Of course, 4 hours will not fix everything. Sure not.
It's a start.
Yeah? But it's the starting point. It's the assessment. It's the realization, okay, this is where I have my issues. And then I can start making changes and see implementing them and how that works.
Looking forward to seeing you there as well. One last question.
Okay.
What's one message or idea you would want people to take from this conversation? It's a lot. I would take the whole conversation with me.
Relax.
Relax.
Really, if I'm 55 now, when I think back when I was 35, if I could talk to my 35 old self, relax, boy, relax. It's, we are driving ourselves so hard. And of course, yeah, as I say, we're young and needed the money. Yes, we want to make a mark for ourselves in the world, but I think we always overestimate what we can achieve in half a year or a year, and clearly underestimate what we can achieve in 5 years. So everybody of us will die. No, and we don't know. Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's in 50 years. We don't know. So just let that go and think of, okay, what would make my life better? And go for that. There's a beautiful quote from Brené Brown, a great social scientist, and she said, "Prefer discomfort over resentment," and I really like that. Have the difficult conversation now, because otherwise afterwards you will go, oh, I should have said something, and now I have to do this stupid thing, and I don't want to do this, and all. And how much easier it would be to say no, or yes, but on these terms. So don't be complacent and complicit. Be clear of who you are. What is your limit? And you're allowed to stand for that. And otherwise, don't take everything so serious.
Thank you, Martin. It was a fantastic talk.
Thank you.
I will listen to it again and take notes. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.